Good evening, all. A warm welcome to all. Today we have Shri Deepak Pahwa ji as our guest for the Leader Speaks. So may I now welcome our chapter president Rajan Gaonkar sir to take over the platform.
Hi, a warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you all. And thank you all for joining on this Saturday evening. At the outset, let me thank Pahwa sir for accepting our invitation and being a guest today. So I'll just, in a brief moment, explain the rationale behind organizing this Leader Speaks event. We thought that, there is a lot of knowledge, there is a lot of domain knowledge. Apart from that, there are soft skills which are involved. And there are unique styles which each individual displays as a leader. And if the young generation, the young professionals, the students, the mid-level professionals, if all of them can get this, understand this knowledge or may get these nuggets of wisdom from this, we can really help them to grow and understand what makes a person really different and successful in life, and this will be more of a practical session rather than a bookish MBA or a bookish or maybe a leadership course or something which is there in a conference room or something, because you will directly hear from the horse's mouth because he has done it. So when people who have done it share it, there is a lot of weight behind the words, the words carry a lot of weight. It's not just empty words, but those words carry a lot of meaning. And that's why we started this series, and we invited a few top leaders from the HVAC and our industry. And today again, we are fortunate to have with us one unique leader who is not only a leader, but he's an innovator, a successful entrepreneur. And he actually started, I would say, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan long before the government of India started. And I actually got this to know from one of his interviews which he had given. Really hats off and salute to you, sir. Somewhere around 80s or 90s, I think he started with import substitution products, and he became very successful in that. His journey has been, and from there I don't want to get into that because that's Nivedita's domain. But yeah, we are definitely fortunate to have you here, and we look forward to, having a good interactive session with you today, sir. I would introduce Nivedita. She doesn't need introduction in the HVAC and our field and ISHRAE platform as such. But yes, she has been a moderator, I would say, who's really done a fantastic job in kind of bringing out the best from the leaders who have been on this platform. And today also we look forward to her, kind of interacting very nicely, and then also giving some time to us to ask questions. Yeah. So So thank you very much, and over to you, Nivedita.
Thank you, Rajan. Aman, can we have the slide, please? Once again, good evening, Pahwa sir.
Good evening.
Yeah. So to introduce Mr. Pahwa, he's a graduate mechanical engineer from ITBHU. That's Banaras Hindu University. He's the chairman of Pahwa Group and managing director of Bry-Air Asia. Over 50 years of experience as far as his professional affiliations. He is a fellow of ISHRAE, member of several technical societies besides ISHRAE and ISHRAE, I'm sure. He actually introduced the concept of indoor air quality in India in 1991. He has been instrumental in forming the first technical committee on IAQ in India. He is a life member of ISHRAE as well as ISHRAE, currently a chairman of the Committee on Industry 4.0 PhD Chamber, National President, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He has been the convener FICCI MSME Committee. The awards are, again, I'm sure there are plenty more, but we could just fit few in the list. A Leadership Award of 2013 by IACC for his dynamic leadership, honored as Distinguished Alumnus during the IIT BHU centenary celebration in 2019. National Award for in 2011 in Research and Development in MSME by MSME, IIT BHU Alumni Lifetime Achievement Award in 2009 and 10, and Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 1987 for the SME. So, sir, I'm sure if I would have read your entire bio, I would have taken a couple of more minutes. So, I'll straight away start with our discussion. Can we have sir on the spotlight? Yeah. Sir, I'll start with one question which I'm sure you would like to answer, and it is, what's new and exciting today? It's something I've taken from you.
Okay. Before I get into that, Nivedita, I'd like to say thank you for getting me over on this platform. And also, it's a little bit nostalgic to see how far ISHRAE has come as a society in India. When ISHRAE was formed in 1981, I remember I was one of the founding, not the founding exactly, in the book as they write it, but at that time we were the initial members and lifetime members of ISHRAE. I was also invited to be the first technical speaker at the program that was organized by ISHRAE way back in 1981. So I'd like to congratulate all the leadership that is there today for putting in all that hard work time to bring ISHRAE to a level. And I think your predecessors have also done a great job, and hope to see ISHRAE go from strength to strength. Already it is a very visible society globally, but I think in addition to numbers being one of the largest societies in the world in HVAC, I think there is a lot of recognition of ISHRAE from a technical platform point of view. So I think all of you guys have done a good job, and may you keep it up. Coming back to before I move forward, since it's an informal chat, I saw the video. Video is very nice. It encapsulates many things. But looking at that video, I saw a few legs which you have put together. One is the ACRICOMF and then the REFCON. I want to leave a thought with you. Maybe the time is there now for you to put another leg there somewhere. In the last 5 years, this indirect evaporative cooling and evaporative cooling has suddenly gained a lot of momentum, and today India is one of the largest users of indirect evaporative cooling in the world. Since there are many other associated technologies and whatever, it might be good for ISHRAE to, or some chapter or some region, to take the lead in trying to promote an annual conference on that, or an annual conference come exhibition on that. Think about it, just leave a thought there.
I'm sure Vishal would have noted that already.
Okay, so whatever that is worth, you all have to decide what's best for the younger upcoming industry. Coming back to your question on what's new. I would like to maybe go back. First, I'd like to go back to, even though you had sent me an earlier prompt about what you might discuss with me, I want to take you back to my school days and college days for several reasons, because this will fit into the spirit of the personality that I possess today. Okay, so I was very fortunate, and when I look back, and I would say that what do you get in life, and what can you give in life to the others around you? It's not the money, it's not the wealth, and I articulate that internally and in the family and other places. What you get in life through your family or otherwise are three things. One is name of the family, and therefore the better the name, you have an advantage. That's the wealth you get. Second is the value system that you get. and you know what that means. That is hugely important to most Indians. And the third is the education that you get. These are the only three things that your parents can give you, which is more wealth than anything else. If you got these three things, you have a bright start. Fortunately, I was one of those very fortunate ones that I had all the three, very well provided by, I would use the word, my illustrious grandfather, who in his whole lifetime, before he died, did more than 500,000 eye surgeries, which no man on earth has ever done before, and no person on the planet can expect to do thereafter. And bulk of it was for charity and free. So we grew up with a value system that was unique. I had never seen any shortage of any entertainment, food, or money. But when he died, there was no wealth in the bank. So still, we were never short of anything. So we got what I think, which is very valuable to many people, is the value, the education. And if you possess that, there's a lot you can do in life. So I had the fortune of going to a very good school, which was Xavier's in Jaipur. I was in the boarding school. And I think that the Jesuit, American Jesuit priests, and of course the Indian Jesuit priests too, they gave a value addition, which was phenomenal. Uh, Fortunately, I was one of the naughtiest kids in this class. Naughtiest kid. Until today, all the 40, 50, 60 class students bond together. And one of the reasons we bond together is all the naughtiness that we used to bring to the table. So I'm telling you this because this will tie then into the question that you asked. So that finished, and I went to BHU, ITBHU. ITBHU was another experience. Many people don't know, they do it from a distance, but if you go to the university and the campus, then you can understand the heritage that the country possesses in ITBHU or the campus itself. This was again a very fortunate situation for me. Um, I would also say that I was again lucky to get good teachers who were not, who did not allow me to be rusticated despite an average attendance of only 20%. So those were the days. And we did a lot of interesting things. We topped the class with despite low attendance. But college was another area where I think you learn a lot to be mischievous, adventurous, and all that shapes your personality and what you do in the world. Not necessarily do you have to be the topper to do best in life. So there is a spirit that you have to recognize in yourself very early on in life, and what is that bucket in which your spirit falls. So I did realize that my spirit was one where you like to be always adventuring. So that is the coming back to the new and exciting. So if you are in that spirit and a personality, obviously you can never be a pessimist. You always have to be an optimist. You will always be a risk taker. I have a very big bruise on my knee, a deep bruise. That's because my younger brother challenged me to jump from one place to another and across a large glass piece, and I fell on top and I cut my knee. So I was always a risk taker like that. So right from an early age. So seeing yourself and seeing most of you, that all of you who are entrepreneurs have to be essentially risk takers. And you'll always be looking at being an optimist no matter what. And you'll always be looking at something new and exciting. Because unless you look for something new and exciting, you can't go to the next step, and it must fill you up fully. So I don't know if that answers what you were looking for, but this, in a very small way, I'd like to say that this takes me to a statement which I've been making in my work life when I speak to students, and I keep telling them that you need to keep the child in you alive. no matter how old you get. If you keep the child in you alive, then you will look at things very, very differently. So that's why they all say young at heart or whatever way of saying it. But I say keep the child in you alive. That's a very small message when you ask me that question.
How was it post your graduation? I mean, you ventured into business or you had a
Well,
good
I was very lucky to have gotten to a company which was into marketing of various products. So that's where I cut my teeth on sales and marketing very well, and international companies were being represented. I was there for 3 years, learned very good formal disciplined work. Then my brother, who is no more, he set up one of the earliest air conditioning project companies in India and was doing at one time the bulk of the work for the military and defense. He had specialized in that and done some very, very uh, special, even secret work for whatever facilities were being created at that time. So I joined him and assisted my brother till 1978. Then I said I'll branch off on my own. In the project work that we did there with my brother, obviously it was in the field of HVAC, and I learned almost every aspect of HVAC. I don't know how many of these people in this audience today can have seen the inside of a shell and tube condenser. But at that time, we literally built the shell and tube condenser, finned condenser, not the grooved ones that you have today, where you had external fills of the Dunham-Bush design. We put it together by hand over the tube bundle and put that into a shell, and then had it welded and had everything done. So this is the type of work that was being done at those days, where there were no boundaries. You just didn't have to do only heat load and another guy only doing this. You had to do the whole spectrum of work. So that's how that came about. But in 1978, I decided to get out of project work. And that's very important to state here. Project work is very interesting. A lot of people see a lot of money and opportunity in projects. I do believe that there is, but there's only that much you can make as success in projects. The moment you go a particular size and you need to decentralize, professionalize, you run into arbitration, you run into these problems, you run into hundreds of other problems and cash flows and whatever have you. So and you suffer from extreme burnout if you have to be a good project owner. So as a project owner company, there's only that much and you can do very good in life. So I decided that I didn't want that type of a burnout, and I decided to be in a product side. So April 1979, I set up my foundation company, which is Arctic India Sales, and then Bry-Air, etc. That was the start of the journey.
Okay. I mean, the times that I mean, when you started your career, I remember even I had one interaction with Prem Sagar sir, and he often told me about the stories that you jointly had, the project experience and all. So, with the advance in technology or the scenario today, if you were young again, would you venture out differently?
Not necessarily. There is a reason why I say that. Lots of people think they have a mission, they have a goal, life they want to make for themselves. Often that's, or 99% of the cases, it's not what it is. I wanted in school, when I was trying to get into college, I wanted to be a chartered accountant and do my chartered accountancy in London. But for some reason, I ended up in BHU being an engineer. So what you want to do and what you end up doing, you have to always keep in mind that you have to make the most of what you have. The moment you decide to do that, there's never any looking back. And if it is in you, I mean, if I may say so, had I not gone into this field, if I had gone into, I'm an electrical engineer, had I gone into computers and let's say I'd built up a software company, probably it would be a global size software company I would have made today. So, and I would not have looked back, and no regrets either way. So it's a question of contentment, the level of contentment and satisfaction you have. And I think there has been extreme contentment and satisfaction in whatever I've accomplished. So it's not that if I turn back, I wish there's no spilt milk there.
No, my question was not with regards to going back and trying to change it. It was basically, if you were like young today, and the overall the way businesses run or the opportunities that are there, would you want to do something different now?
Not really. I would not change anything. The way it happened, I have enjoyed every moment of whatever has come my way. There are several examples I'd like to give you there to make some parallels. And I'll cover that later, or maybe this is the best time to cover it. Lots of people talk about vision, lots of people talk about goals, a lot of people seeing where your life you want to take and take you. And therefore they can rewind and say, I wish if I had to do that, this is what I would do. I don't know if there's anyone who can say that at the age of 2022 and he accomplishes anything in life at the age of and looks back from the age of 70, that he could say and claim that at 22, this is what I wanted to be and this is what I have become. I can't think of even 1 in a billion people. Look at Mahatma Gandhi. When he was in South Africa, did he know that he would become Mahatma the way he was? Every product is a product, every person is a product of circumstance. You evolve, and it's the circumstances that you are in. And that's what shapes you, constantly shapes you. So there's no such thing as winding back and saying, I wish I had done this. I mean, it's again a personality and a psyche. Different people have different, but this is what mine is.
One needs to keep evolving.
You have to make the most of what you have and then look for something.
Aman, can you put all on mute? Except me and sir. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you got in,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
When you got into business, what kind of support system did you really have? I mean, financial, you can say, or I mean, overall.
Very, very interesting. I look back. I borrowed some money from my brother, 20,000 rupees. And that's it.
That time, 20,000 was, I don't know.
Maybe today is, you can say 4 or 5 lakhs of rupees.
Oh.
Or 6 lakhs of rupees. But very quickly, one thing led to another, and there was positive cash flow from 2 months later. So there was no looking back. I don't think I've ever worried about money in my life. And I've always claimed that you do what you want to, you do it well. Money will be a bonus that you cannot avoid, that will come.
So you started from what, I'm sorry, I cut you out. You started from a what, two people, 3 people? I mean, how big was your
Well, my start was with 2 people. One of them you would know already very well, Rajneesh Joshi. He joined me. Yeah, he joined me on day 1, April 1, 1979. And one was the typist. So just the 3 of us, we started on that day. And I started the company as a proprietor of the company. And that's it. And fortunately, we hit positive cash flow from day 1, 2, 3, and things led to another. And we, November of 1979, I had an opportunity of inviting Bry-Air president into India. We met with them, and over a handshake, we decided to form a partnership and a joint venture. Then I flew down in 1980 in the summer. We hammered out an agreement. And 81, the plant was born, or the company was born, and the plant followed. So I borrowed from Haryana Financial Corporation, and Haryana State Industrial Development Corporation gave me a piece of land on installment basis, whatever have you in those days. And so one step led to another, and everything was positive, positive, positive.
So were you, I mean, would you say you were fortunate or circumstantial was such that
See, this that's another thing which comes up very often in questions. Fortunate, you mean, is another word for luck, and I don't believe in luck. So, in other words, what is luck? Luck is for one person what he sees. Hey, that guy is lucky. He has got this. He's got this. Very lucky he's doing that. No, the person who is lucky is the one who was in the circumstance where he could see the opportunity and you could not, because you are not in that circumstance. And that person has not only seen it, he sees it. So if you are in an opportunity circumstance and you can see it and you seize it, and you're bound to do it well. And another person will probably see it was fortunate, lucky, and I don't subscribe to that.
but then there must be some influencer who could have, sort of guided you right, or I mean, or it was just your wisdom.
I think you
What
learn.
do you attribute it to?
See, the moment you see, this is another interesting thing. The moment you are a two-man team, who's there to guide you? If you're really learning everything from day one, you've already learned science and I've already learned marketing and sales. That was my forte. So first thing I did was teach science, sales and marketing to Rajneesh. I said, Rajneesh, you learn that and I'll teach you well and I'll concentrate on other things. So imagine from 1981, the day I started the company, till today, which is almost 79 to now 42 years later, except for international travel where I meet people on relationship, I've hardly met any customer in the country at all of my customers. Hardly. I built the company as a brand rather than build myself as the one behind the brand. Maybe, of course, you can't avoid that in HVAC fraternity, but if you look at the industrial space, the companies that we deal with, all the pharma companies, the international MNCs, there's nothing known as Mr. Pahwa. They only know the company that one has built up. So in other words, what does that mean? That you have to, at each stage, develop people, learn yourself, work with them, develop another thing. So I learned finance. I learned cash flow management. I learned engineering in great depth. Manufacturing, I instinctively adapted to. Management is something that I was already done a few courses in management while in my previous 3 years or 6 years. So to that extent, everything fell in line one after another, and you begin to go deeper and deeper, and you begin to excel in every area.
So it wasn't a planned move as such to keep on, growing the way you, or it just, like we always say, you kept evolving and you kept on grasping as many things as you could, or forecasted it that, okay, this is what I have to do, A, B, C, D.
No. I think I'd like to rearrange the whole thought process for the audience and also for you. You don't bumble along. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. You need to have a goal and a mission. And this is something else I'd like to share my experience very strongly with whoever is in the audience today. We forget that we are in a hurry sometimes to do too many things. And we think, I want to do that. But let me tell you, each one of us must remember that when you are young and you're starting anything, time is on your side. Time is not against you. Literally today, you can become an expert on everything once you are making the time to apply your mind to anything. So that brings me to what I articulate very often, that you have to have a peak in front of you that you want to climb. You must have a peak in front of you that you want to climb, you, your team, or whatever. But when you look at that peak in front of you, you can never tell what are the peaks behind that. You can never see them. So once you reach that first peak, whether let's say you start your work at age 30, you reach that peak at 34 or 35, you could not see what are the peaks behind that until you reach that peak at the age of 35. Then you see more peaks and you say, okay, I want to go that peak. So as you go, you have to go in life from peak to peak. And what is unfolding as a result of that is where your destiny is taking you. So there is no bumbling. There is no long-term vision. You have to go peak to peak in life. That's been my philosophy. Take one step at a time, be focused, get there, then see what is behind that, go to the next step. You want to open another company, and with experience, maturity, everything, a lot more comes as you go along, but you would have done a peak and you're ready for something more and bigger.
We say, people's, there is this Tata's group, as we say, it's an institution and not a business house. And I don't want to name the other companies which are termed as business house. How do you define your the culture that you've set in your company? I mean, as you've grown from 2 to I think maybe a couple of thousands. So, what is the culture that, or did you really set it, or it's just happened?
See, culture is what, so let me start. We have about 1,500 employees in the company, and about 150 of them are overseas in our different locations all over the world. And a culture is something is unique to every organization. You will never see two cultures being the same, like two countries. Even within the country, there are regions which will have cultures. Similarly, companies, there's no unified culture. Every company has a culture. People make the culture with the help of the leaders in terms of what they want to live in and work within. So fortunately, we have been able to evolve a very, very unique culture where a huge sense of ownership is there for everyone, a lot of independence for everyone, and they create the place where they want to live with. And we have been fortunate enough to create a unique environment. There are several people who work in our company. They go out, they realize that they would like to come back again. Whatever it is, the culture of their own making. So they can't find a substitute, but that's no reason to say that we have a better culture or someone else has a worse culture. No, every culture is unique. And I think from a professional point of view, we have tried to professionalize it. You cannot remove the stamp of an owner, but the owner has to step back and say, am I being a leader or am I being an owner? The moment you look at it as a leader, then you have to see, and that goes for even the professionals you hire. They are all in leadership roles, all of them, and you have to provide inspirational leadership. Unless that operative word is inspirational, unless you're able to provide inspirational leadership, you are not providing professionalism. You cannot make the building blocks for an institution. Let me tell you that my wife received an award for a technical journal that our company used to produce for our global partners as well. And she got an award, national award, and I accompanied her, and I had a chance to listen to the keynote speaker that day in Bombay. And the keynote speaker was none other than Mr. Aga, the founder of Thermax. He spoke many interesting things, but one thing which I took away from what he said in that speech, and which has been there for now more than 30 years in our thought process, he said was that if the process is right, the result will be right. So you don't focus on looking for the result, you're looking for the process. So the process is what happens. So if you are, let's say, deciding something, even the increments for people and employees, if you put together people, you put together a process, how are they going to handle that? If the process is right, the result will be right. So those are all building blocks and fundamental steps towards what you hope will be an institution, what you hope. So you are trying to always work in a form of a legacy to professionalize that people have had the freedom, they can do many things, there are multiple cultures that they, or multiple domains or disciplines that they've learned within the company. I think you know Sonali.
Yes,
Now look at Sonali as an example. When she came to the company more than 30 years ago, she was at that time selling these uh, telephone extensions with those small keyboards or whatever. And she used to come on a scooty. Today, she's handling entire intellectual property matters. Where did she learn that? She was handling entire marketing, HR. So people have, if you get the freedom and the people have the intellect and they get the opportunity, they can still do all that. And she provided a lot of work and support to ISHRAE in its formative period. So everyone has the ability. So your goal is to see you take ordinary people and make them extraordinary people. And the organization therefore takes that shape.
the environment has got to be conducive.
Yes. And the environment I keep stressing is what the people live in and what they themselves make. And so therefore the credit has not to go to any individual. It is to go to the whole culture. I mean, today, if I did something different from what the culture has evolved, if I did something different, probably they'll throw me out. So I think the culture at one stage or the other gets more and gelled within the organization, and that's the making of an institution. And I hope sincerely that one would have created an institutional framework for going ahead in that. And one more thing, while you're on that subject, the other day I got a small WhatsApp chat, and that it was, I think some of you may have seen it because I was doing the rounds last week. Die empty. What that means is that if you take anything to your grave, the whole humanity would have lost it.
True.
So what can you do that whatever you know, how can you make sure that that is taught to others around you every day in every way till the last moment? So that has been a mission in our company. We are a very open company. We train, teach all the time, teach. And anyone who knows anything is willing to teach anyone else. So you have to take that as a sense that you need to be sharing with everyone some knowledge that you create all the time.
So if you have to teach the audience to what it is to be globally competitive, I mean, how should one try to be globally competitive?
Okay. I started, let's say I take a trip short trip to holiday trip, you may call it, or whatever, to Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore, way back in the early 80s. And in that trip, we came across a company in Malaysia, and suddenly they were very excited. They wanted to represent us. And we had just opened our business here, manufacturing here, and we shipped them product. We got an order from a large tobacco company. We shipped that product there, and that guy was one of the people there. Said, "Your equipment is performing well, but look at the aesthetics and whatever have you." Obviously, and one didn't take it positively, but one didn't take it negatively either, because after all, there's a learning in whatever someone is critiquing. What was important in that lesson was that if a person is spending dollars and he has a choice, why would he buy equipment from India and why not from Europe? Okay. So that was a question we were asking ourselves. So overnight, the mission changed. The thinking changed that we have to have a world-class product in every possible way, not only performance, etc., etc., etc. So, and then being restless as I am, and the ability to create that market potential within India was limited The only way I could do that was go outside the geography of India. And when you're going outside, you're dealing with this situation of why from India? But once we started attacking it in multiple ways, and with the spirit of adventure we had, we were able to quickly do work in Bangladesh, Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, everywhere in Southeast Asia. China was at that stage still being born, I would use the word. They were nowhere on the site in our industry, though the volumes today are much bigger. But that was the case it was. So therefore, international business evolved with that restlessness and to be in geographies. And because the circumstances were very compelling, we said we must have world-class manufacturing, we must have world-class technology, we must have world-class products from design, aesthetics, and whatever have you. So that has been influencing us for now last more than 30 years. Without that, you can't be there. And obviously, we had the price advantage. They gave us, the international business gave us much better profitability, cash flows, and whatever have you.
So is it just technology, or having everything world class that would really make one? It's not really possible, isn't it? I mean,
yes. If you, of course, in our business, you have to be closer to the market you serve. There's a lot of application side to be an applied product. So we had to open up offices in Philippines. We had to open up offices in Dubai. We opened up an office in China and everywhere, because without that application, they don't have the confidence. Many places we had to hire local people or Indian people from here or combinations thereof. So all that goes together. And today I can tell you with huge confidence that a company of our size, what we do, there is no other company in India which has the global countrywide depth and knowledge of each country and how to operate. We have a company in Brazil today, which where we have operated for 5 years. We know the Latin American market very well. Yesterday, we finalized our person who is going to be developing the market in Mexico and Central America, which we are doing from a distance here. So North America, we are already present with our partners. So American whole continent from north to south, we understand this like the back of our hand. Same goes for China. I have a company there. Europe, we today on our company DRI, we have something like 8 or 10 OEMs in Germany alone who buy product from us. So therefore, there's hardly any geography in the country, which in the globe, that we don't understand well. And this was not built in a day. Is that perseverance, interest to be as good as anyone else and deliver on performance and spread your tentacles everywhere.
do you have a zero defect factory?
Where do you find that in custom product?
I mean, when we hear about the Japanese, I mean, it's always spoken about, like, if they want, you give them a tolerance, they'll produce extra as a defect piece that you want. But
No.
otherwise,
you should apply it to different products. For example, if you're making an automobile components, not zero defect, they'll talk in terms of one in now these is 1 in a billion, 1 in 10 million, or whatever, if there is a problem. So in custom equipment, that's not possible. Not possible anywhere. You need many things. However, when we made our partnership with the US company, they had a very good philosophy, and that was no orphans in the field. That has been our maxim till today. No orphan in the field. Now, whether the equipment goes through a contractor who's looking for something cheap, intermediate, and he wants to sell it to the end customer, make his extra money, our name is on that. We will never allow that product to become an orphan. So even after 30 years, we have all traceability. We'll support that customer. And 40 years, not 30, 40 years, we are doing that. So therefore, no orphans in the field. That's the slogan we have internally.
Rajan talked about you having introduced or adopted Atmanirbharta and the Make in India way back when you started. I mean, I read
Uh,
the article of yours also that talked. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
wonderful article. You maybe could just.
Okay, I don't think I would take any credit for that. It's wrong to say that we started anything like that. It's just that we were born, I'm born means business born in that era. So let me explain to you, since many of you may have experienced that, some of the elderly people in the audience, but in the 70s, you did not, there was something like you have to buy indigenous. Everything required an import license. And import licenses meant it's very difficult to get past, to get the clearance. So everyone was focused on indigenization, what today you call localization. But people were always looking at indigenization and import substitution. These were the two operating words. So when I started the company, we were in the thick of it, of all this. So I remember the first time when we bought silica gel from America, and we bought some silica gel made in India. The performance was only 50% of what it needed to be. So you can imagine equipment to be derated by 50%. That's not an acceptable thing. The best of silica gel would not give us more than 50% performance. So first and foremost, we told our American partners that we want to set up a whole test facility as you have in the US. We'll set it up here, which means a dynamic performance test facility with airflows measurement and everything. And second is that we said we'll set up our research wing here in chemistry to be able to localize the silica gel. I arranged to visit the world's largest silica gel manufacturer on the east coast of America with my partners. And we saw that the infrastructure, but we stuck on, and we were within a year of our research able to get silica gel at 1/10 the price and matching the performance of the US silica gel. So you can imagine the benefits and the fallout of localization and indigenization. Otherwise, I would have had to go for import licenses, pay 10 times as much. Equipment becomes more expensive because silica gel was the heart of it at that time. That was the technology at that time. So we means the entire industry, India, was focused on localization and indigenization. We grew up in that environment. Unfortunately, in 1991, when liberalization occurred, the liberalization government threw the baby with the bathwater out. Imports became absolutely open overnight. The duty structure, for one reason or other, was totally inverted. When I say inverted, means capital goods for lobbying by one institution or another were having the least amount of duty, and raw material was the highest. So instead of doing it the reverse, where you would make it more expensive to import, you have got rid of the licenses, but you really need to make sure that there is incentive to localize. But that didn't happen. So the pendulum swings just the other way around. And the floodgates were open. Everyone wanted to import everything. You can see it in your HVAC industry. Whatever was being produced till 1991 here took a backseat. Everyone was willing to import. All consultants were willing to put in all imported makes. And suddenly you went from here to here. So where has your industry gone today? How much are you manufacturing in India? Everything from chillers to whatever have you. Whereas at that time, companies were making compressors, they were taking licenses. Had time been given to them to make the transition, you would have really today had a healthy HVAC domestic manufacturing industry. Manufacturing does not mean grills, etc., but from the so many other products today, even the actuators. You have to import actuators. Look at China. There are 10, 20 companies which are manufacturing world-class actuators. So this is where we did. And now the government or Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbharta is very timely. It's good that we are getting into it, but it is not different from what we grew up with, which was abandoned in between. Okay, so I don't want to take any credit for anything like that. I want to put it in perspective for everyone in the audience.
I mean, there were two things. One is Atmanirbharta and the Make in India. So Make in India, I mean, is it to get an MNC to invest in India, or it is to develop the companies in India?
Both. See, this is what it is. Now we are a big investment destination. So and the investor, I always say, is mobile. He can go to any country. Why does he come to India? And so he has to be seeing the advantages of coming to India. But while doing that, and we are going to give him any incentive or any lucrative business if you can sort of cajole him or a little bit of danda there, that you make this in India. For example, now India signed a big license agreement with the company in Europe. They're making locomotives in Bihar, and they're very advanced locomotives, and they already started rolling out for the last 1.5 years. Now they've already reached a level of 80-90% localization. So why can't that be done? So let the investment come in. Make in India, it takes on a slightly different, broader meaning than what was at that time import substitution.
Okay, we'll shift on to a little bit of ISHRAE and ACREX. And
Okay.
ACREX comes in Briar Awards. I really miss the Briar Awards since you stopped it, I think in 2015.
That is correct. I miss them too.
Yeah. So how was your journey? I mean, what was the intent, vision, and why did you stop it?
Again, now this was way back in 2005. One is always looking at doing something new and exciting. So I said, let's set up 3 things at that time. I said, we are getting from the industry and doing all that. Why don't we give back to the industry and form 3 things? And I'll tell you all the 3. One was, I said, let's do Briar Awards so that we recognize innovation, since we are stand for innovation. And we ran this idea past 2-3 leading stalwarts of the industry at that time. All were very encouraging. So we just didn't jump into it. And with that encouragement, we did the first, we did the second. And while it was becoming a very good annual affair, we thought that innovation is catching on as a buzzword. But at some stage, you need to take a pause. We decided to take a pause at age 10. And we said that maybe we could even look at taking it global, beyond India, to maybe doing it next time in Malaysia, next time in Brazil. But we were still pondering over all that. And we said, no, I think let's leave it there. We've done enough. And we left it there. And I think there were a lot of other companies that filled in the vacuum. And even within ISHRAE, the programs that you were having were already coming up to a very high level. And today, I think, I'm not sure if we are missed. But
I don't know about others. I really miss.
But there are 2 other things that were there in my mind at that time. One was to create a learning institute, which is now today ISHRAE has that institute. That time we started it, and we got stalwarts from all over the country, but we were focused on not the youngsters who were coming out of college or didn't have a job or whatever. It was only at the higher level, people who have been working in the companies for at least 7-8 years, and give them much higher and deeper level of knowledge. So about 7-8 people, best of the people in the country, came together with me. And I said, I'll fund it all, not a problem. But let's, as for the society, from the society, and made that platform. It was called Bali, Bry-Air Learning Institute. We carried that on for a year and a half, but we found that traction was not there enough. And therefore, I thought it best, let's not flog a dead horse. Till today, we have nothing like that happening, though there are very good courses that have come up or training programs that have come up, and perhaps it's a little bit more self-sustainable financially. You have Mr. Seth doing a great job in Delhi here, and good faculty and good content now coming up. All these things considered, I think that has a different place, and what our vision was at a different level. But it's always there to teach and see how we can teach each other and learn from each other in specific areas. The third was the third item which never took off was I wanted to create an air foundation, and air was going beyond HVAC. So you see that air is used in many industries, even air, compressed air, etc., etc. But somehow I think that was still in a very embryonic stage, so I never took that. But these are three things that one was thinking of in 2005 to see how we can go to the society and share that.
How much of ISHRAE and ASHRAE, what is the importance role that has played in your career?
Okay. Number one, I'm proud to be the first speaker, the technical speaker. But a couple of times when, and I'm not going to mix, separate ASHRAE and ISHRAE here. I'll bunch them together. Couple of meetings when I was very active on ASHRAE Delhi chapter, and a couple of the meetings which we had, the agenda items, and we would see that there's a whole lot of activity and discussion taking place around what they call as administrative matters or political matters. You know what I'm talking about. So one of those sessions, I said, no, please, let's turn it around 100%. The first agenda item should be what is there already in the US ASHRAE to advance the art and science of HVAC. So the first agenda item is that. Now, if you put that there, then everyone will think about it and talk about it. So I would leave as a message for ISHRAE whether we are now advancing the Indian part of this. So our focus should always be what can we do to advance the art and science. So whenever these meetings are there, whatever is there, of course, ISHRAE has come a very long way. But that focus should not be lost. Whether we fund research, whatever, but the administrative part and the political part should not take a backseat, but should not necessarily become the primary focus. And the focus should always be, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of people who are interested on the technical side. Since I've always been on the technical side, I would promote that. When Mr. Sema was the president, he really took a lot of interest in indoor air quality. I took a lot of interest in indoor air quality. We propagated that throughout the country. Today, indoor air quality is very well understood by everyone. I mean, hopefully, though every day we have to learn more and more about it. But indoor air quality is not an unknown phrase to even the general public. Yeah. So, ISHRAE, I remember we had one meeting there. I wanted to initiate the technical committees. Long time back, and maybe a little bit ahead of the times, but fortunately you have technical committees already now. And I've not been in the front line of the activities, but ISHRAE has now built up a robust this thing. But my idea there was that ASHRAE has, let's say, so many chapters. Each chapter in the book technically has one technical committee in America. Mirror exactly that and build as many technical committees. And if there are people who are jumping the bandwagon, keep them. Those who have not enough interest, drop those committees. But take the shape of those committees which are similar, which have that in the US, and you have a lot of, why reinvent the wheel? You can call it your ISHRAE committee, but technical committees, we must start. And I think they've started maybe in a modified manner, evolved manner, nothing wrong with that. But it's come a long way. So there is really not much to say to ISHRAE, except that ISHRAE has come a long way, and I think one should congratulate the people in the middle age of ISHRAE, middle age. And I'm not putting you in that category. Middle age means ISHRAE as a society is now nearly 40 years old. So in the 20-year-old period, when they really put in a lot of work, and that gave the spine to this organization. Today, it has now reached manhood. From here, it can do wonders. So I think there's only positive thing ahead for ISHRAE.
The team that held it in between in the early years.
Yeah.
Sir, I'll take my last question because I've actually run out of time, and I'm sure
No, I
audience
didn't.
will have. Yeah. So my last question to you is two advices you would, one each. One is to the youth, and the other one is to anyone who's there of whichever age group. Because you'll notice that this program has a youth at ISHRAE support. So we are actually trying to encourage more of youth members to sort of gain from the learnings that they get from people as you and our earlier leaders. So one advice that you would.
Okay. All right. Instead of 2 learnings, I'll give you 3 learnings. And instead of giving it separately to the youngsters and the seniors, I'll combine it into the 3 advices being common for both. The first one is, which I've already dwelled upon, but I'll distill it out, cull it out and say, keep the child in you alive. Keep the child in you alive. The spirit to explore adventure is very important. Right? You'll see that this will resonate with you beyond HVAC society. It'll in every walk of your life, even your family life, the spirit has to be there. So I would urge that that spirit should always be there. The second item, which I have not spoken about, which I believe very strongly about, and I'll both speak and leave as an advice. This is coming from experience. Today, I would claim to have pretty good deep knowledge on chemistry, though I'm an electrical engineer. Quite a bit of our research is around chemistry. So why I say that is, over time, you will learn from your school days, college days, build up, that you have the fundamental building blocks like physics, chemistry, maths. That's how you do engineering. And when you do engineering, then whether you're an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer, there are many commonalities. So even if you're a mechanical engineer, there's nothing holding you back from becoming an accomplished HVAC engineer, and vice versa. So those disciplines help, but at the end of the day, what matters is that you have to create a depth in a particular area. In any one area, the moment you create depth in one area, and I've found that, whether it is, let's say, I'm creating some depth as an engineer in areas of finance, and I'm creating depth in area of manufacturing, there'll be a correlation somewhere. There will be a correlation. So there is so much correlation which is below the surface of the water between whatever depth you're creating, that cumulatively that is creating height in the individual. So keep that in mind. The nugget that I'm going to leave with you is, with great depth comes great height. If you skim the surface, as many people do today, they think they've learned everything how to do selection on the computer, and so be it. And I am representing ABC and I can do this. They've conquered the world. Good luck. I would say that, but you really still need to create some depth. And not only in one area, there are so many areas you can. The moment you create your depth and correlate that depth, you are really creating height for yourself. So it's on the individual. This is a thought I'd lay with you, and one can take it, leave it for whatever it is worth. And the third, I don't know how many people have read this book called from Jonathan Livingston's Seagull. Read it if you can find that book. Everything which limits us, we have to put aside. And you should say, I want to fly. Okay. And with that brings me to the theme song of our of our Briar Awards, which was Choti Si Asha. And that should be your thing. I want to fly. So if you're wanting to do that, that's all that you need to do. All these 3 are relevant to both the youngsters and the seniors.
That was excellent, sir. I mean, I could actually converse for another hour. I mean, I have still many questions which I have not touched. In fact, I'll just mention one which I don't want you to answer. I noted that you have Priyanka Chopra as one of your influencers. I went through your LinkedIn profile. So you are following Priyanka
Priyanka Chopra?
You wouldn't possibly know that, but I have checked that you are following Priyanka Chopra. No.
No. No. Don't single her out. There were 3 of them at that time.
Okay. Okay. So I'll close my session from my end. I'm sure there are many questions. Vishal has raised his hand. I just want to acknowledge the presence of Farooq Mehboob. Farooq sir is the ISHRAE Society President-elect. So I'm really honored that he's made in time before our session could end to be here. Farooq sir, big thank you from my side to you.
Nivedita, it was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to listen to Pahwa Sahab. I'm one of his fans. And today, I'm glad I couldn't get there in the beginning, but I got the 3 nuggets at the end. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
May you long live and guide us. And that's my prayer. I've always been a fan of yours because you're a true innovator and a true person who goes deep into matters. And how right you are that the depth translates into height.
Thank you for those kind words. And he's been our great friend from many, many decades now.
Yes.
In fact, I knew about your friendship. That is why I sent him a special request to join in. He just got out of the meeting and he told me, I said, please join in, even if you have got to peek in for a little while.
That's very, very nice of you.
Not at all, sir. And I'm looking forward to enjoying your hospitality. I remember the first time we came to India and you hosted a fabulous party for us. I don't think we've had such a nice party in the last 20 years. So I'm hoping and praying that at least during my tenure, when I get to be president of ISHRAE, that I come and pay my respects. And
you can be sure we'll host an even a better party this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Farooq sir. Thank you, Pahwa sir. I'll hand it over to Rajan and Avan.
Yeah. So I think it was a fantastic session, and we have few people who have raised their hands. Can I ask Vishal to put forward his question, please?
Pahwa sir, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Vishal. How are you?
How are you, sir? It's a pleasure. I know you for many, many years. I go many, many years from a family side also otherwise, but I never knew this side of you because I have heard you speak many times on technical matters, on air quality, heat, various technical matters. But today's session, which frankly I would put on the motivation side, from a pure motivational talk, I have never seen this side of you talking. I've always known that side of you as a business person, as a person who's put such a big, beautiful organization in place. And I use the word beautiful because that's what your organization is all about. But this side of yours was phenomenal and was really, we couldn't just even turn off for a second listening to all the very simple things you said. When you look at them and you start rethinking on that, some of them or most of them are very simple, and yet we generally tend to ignore and never really bother about those things in our lives ahead, whichever journey we are in. I just had one question which could resonate with a lot of people listening in, maybe more with entrepreneurs, is you must have faced some failures in your life, right? Whether some kind of a development or some kind of an idea from a business perspective I'm talking about. And if not, maybe you know how others would have seen it around you in your friend circle otherwise. How does one bounce back from a failure, specifically at an early age, when you start something and you are hit a stumbling block, a big problem areas? What would you normally tell people? How do you handle that?
Interesting question. First of all, Vishal, when I look back and I really see it, I have not seen a failure ever since I started my business. However, you do come across extreme challenges, if not failures. And of course, as you grow older, your capacity and capability to handle them varies. The first real business shake-up that I experienced, and I think it was a nightmare, was when we learned and our bank informed us that the company under which we were doing our business as a joint venture, not US company, but another joint venture, that company did not exist in the circle of registrar of companies. So imagine I'm running a business, bank has given me overdrafts, and the company does not exist in ROC. So take that as a earth-shaking experience. Your child has been hit by a car, and you really need to do something to save that. And how do you manage that? You got to be a surgeon. You got to be everything. You got to do everything together. So now, what had happened was, in retrospect, I can share that with you. This is like 30 years ago. The chartered accountant had forged the certificate and pocketed the money for the ROC fees. And in the annals of history, a similar case was found in British annals in 1856. It had never been experienced, never reported. And even my case would never have got reported because I managed the solution so quickly. And we went to the best of legal advice, including Soli Sorabji at that time, and the Ministry of Industry, who had given me a joint venture approval, banks, everything. And I managed to wrap it up, the solution, in 10 days flat, going from pillar to post and putting the matter on record, going to the police, everything. And everyone accepted that on record. And within 15 days, my operations had come to normal. But imagine, how would you handle a situation like this today, or anyone? So that teaches you tremendous confidence. Listen, this is nothing. If you can do this, you can face everything in the world. So if I look back, I don't think we've had failures. We've had catastrophe of a type, but not failures. Failures, fortunately, you can say that wisdom drives you. For example, I acquired a company in Germany. We were running a company. The managing director had a heart issue. He was out of action for 1 year. There were no English-speaking people. We started bleeding. So we had to take a call. We shut the company down. Now, that's not what I would call a failure. Today, thanks and going back, because of that, our presence and therefore our introduction to Germany, today we have so many OEM accounts in Europe. So always there's in every adversity, there's a silver lining. That I'm a firm believer. Nothing is called this thing. So failures, though, therefore, it's an attitude. Some people would even get crushed on any small problem. For me, that's not a failure. And so, Vishal, sincerely, I don't look back and see any real failures on our landscape.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pahwa sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishal. Ramchandran sir, can you please ask your question?
Thank you. I don't have a question. I have a comment only. I cannot claim to be close to Pahwa Sahib in any way. I have always admired him. I have always admired his company. When I was the president of ISHRAE, I had few opportunities to interact with him. He's a person who has built a business, and he did not go into a conventional field. He went into innovative and high technology business products at that time. And when hardly anybody used to talk about energy efficiency, he pioneered energy efficiency. This is what was his greatness at that time. And more importantly, he provided leadership to his company. The other day when Sonali was interviewed, I told very clearly that Sonali was very lucky to be the right person at the right place at the right time. That proved to be her success. And the company played a major role. And I told Sonali that I really envy you that you have been fortunate to be working in a company like this. Another thing about Pahwa Sahib, he never compromises. He never compromises. He selects the best people, gives them the best training, and allows them to excel in their own field. As a consultant, I have met people from Bry-Air. I have met people from so many companies, multinational, big corporates, including Bry-Air. Whenever a Bry-Air representative comes and meets me, it is an opportunity for a frank technical discussion where you can definitely have some takeaway. That is how I look at the company. People are sincere, motivated, knowledgeable, and true. That is what I have found about this company. I wish there were many more people like Mr. Deepak Pahwa. The company, not only the industry, the country have been a better place. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us.
Mr. Ramachandran, these are very, very kind words, and I feel very humbled by these.
No, I really mean each and every word I said, sir.
Appreciate that, and also I would like to see if our people in the country, and I'm unfortunately going to use my own personal example if I'm permitted to do so, but I'd like to encourage more and more people in the industry to research and innovate. That's been the theme. And one way to see that result is by way of the number of patents the industry files in new areas of technology and development. I think that would be some way in which ISHRAE can start making some way of counting what everyone is doing in the industry, because that should be encouraged. I'm sure many companies are doing it, but not the word goes around as to how much our industry is innovating. And one evidence, of course, is patents that you file.
Yeah. Thank you,
Our
sir.
company has developed 14 new global technologies, 14. We have filed about 130 international patents, and about 65 have already been granted globally.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask Vyom Chaturvedi to ask his question, please?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. Thank you for this very wonderful and inspiring talk. So I'll first of all introduce myself. I am a recent graduate. My name is Vyom Chaturvedi. I'm a recent graduate in mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani. And I am passionate about this thing we today call as sustainable cooling and like doing clean tech. So, sir, and I have the fortunately I have done some academic research on this thing also. And so you started off your speech with a remark on indirect evaporative cooling, that this is a buzzword in industry and this is soon to be like a very big opportunity in India. And another thing that I would like to ask you about is desiccant dehumidification. So the website of Pahwa Group says that with desiccant at its core in relation to air. So these two things, when put together, can be a very good like potential and impact generating field for India, where like dehumidification, which is one of the like very important in India, if it can be done by through desiccant dehumidification other than refrigerant dehumidification, it is very much more efficient. And it has been found in academic research, but sir, a barrier to this has been the cost barrier, because we still don't see desiccant coming in the like residential market. It has been restricted to very like precision based segments. So when do you see this desiccant, and these both major fields are, sir, basically governed by some patents and information like intellectual properties, with some companies having products like their indirect evaporative coolers. And so this is how do you see this industry, these two buzzwords in the industry to evolve in future?
Okay, I think it's a good thing. I'll speak on the indirect evaporative cooler first. Fortunately, this part of the industry does not have barriers by way of intellectual property, not many. So I don't think you need to worry too much about the intellectual barriers for this industry application. I'm thinking there's not much. You can easily develop things which will allow you to move forward. Indirect evaporative cooling and another thing which is going to happen in the US, though there are vested interests which do not allow it to happen so fast as it should, is called adaptive comfort. While they are paying lip service to adaptive comfort in ISHRAE, but you don't see any of that translating into the ground. And adaptive comfort and indirect evaporative cooling go hand in hand. And Mr. Sima had actually done a lot of good work in propagating adaptive comfort in India, though of course now he's phased himself out. So indirect evaporative cooling is going to be growing very rapidly. Acceptance is considerable. That is where I had suggested that maybe a time has come to organize a conference around that, a show around that. It would be good for ISHRAE to look at that. But on the other hand, to answer your question more specifically, you're on track. You should look at this actively. This will grow and will grow rapidly. There are lots of players coming into the market. Prices are today, I don't think are in any way a barrier. There is already a lot of cost optimization that has already taken place. I don't think there's much compressibility of cost in that sector. And people are finding it, how shall we say, they are comfortable with the price that they are paying for it. It's closer today to 40 rupees a CFM. And in certain cases goes more, but it is in that area, and that's pretty good, given that very good product is available in the marketplace. Coming to the second part, desiccants have been very sexy in a approach and appeal, where they wanted it to go beyond industrial application to commercial and residential. A lot has been done about 20 years ago. We participated in certain programs in the US. One was expecting a much faster adoption into the commercial space, which did not happen to the extent that it should have. Costs have not come down significantly, but commercial application of desiccant humidification has increased considerably since that time. Residential application needs are still very limited. They are better addressed through refrigeration dehumidifiers for basements, etc., which is the place where the world uses dehumidifiers mainly for basement applications. But coming straight to commercial and industrial, the next barrier which could be broken and will be broken soon will be where you come up with low temperature regeneration materials, new materials, or they call novel materials. A lot is being done in the development of these new materials. Our company has filed patents 2 years ago on new methods to produce novel materials. It's a global platform, global patent, and I think we've done some very, very pioneering work in that area of chemistry. These materials are not unknown, but our patent covers new methods of producing and synthesizing these. But all of them can be regenerated at temperatures as low as 70 to 80 degrees C, 60 degrees Celsius, compared to 140 degrees C, which is typical for normal systems. So you can see that that regeneration temperature is likely to open up a whole area of energy usage, from solar to waste heat to low temperature methods of producing heat. With that, hopefully a proliferation can occur of usage, and any large usage means prices definitely come down. I don't know if I've answered your question. Prices will not come down immediately, but new applications will drive prices, and new applications are certainly going to come up with new materials being developed. The new materials will be hopefully in this decade the main advantage that you will get in new desiccant technologies, and they're there, almost there.
Thank you so much for the very detailed response, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ravi, you have put a question in the chat box. Can you ask the question? I mean, please, so that it's more clearer. Ravi? Ravi, we are unable to hear you.
Rajan, I think you read out the question.
So yeah, so Ravi says that, sir, you have been a champion of technology solutions. Do you think that of late, because of highly commoditized HVAC industry, technology solutions are taking a backseat? If yes, what are your suggestions to improve the situation?
Could you read that question again? I didn't understand the first part.
Yeah, so he is saying that HVAC industry has become highly commoditized, and real technology solutions are not happening, you know. So what is the solution to really have the innovation in this particular case?
I'm not sure if I agree with that statement, because today our engineering consultants are definitely doing a good job. They are willing to do contemporary work. They are capable of doing it and are doing it. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, prices get driven down. When you say commoditized, they get driven down because even the big players try and get into the bloodshed with the smaller players, and therefore all suffer in totality. And the whole the so-called commoditization should not be considered as something to be avoided. You should commoditize. There should be more volume, and with volume you'll get quality, performance, and more players coming into the market. So commoditization, when it is at the risk of quality deterioration, and commodity at the risk of price and quality deterioration, is one thing. Commoditization per se, resulting from more business, more design work being done, more HVAC being applied, and more product being put in as a Lego set for various applications, is not a wrong way to go.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pahwa sir. Thank you for your wonderful answer. Actually, I was unable to unmute myself. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Rajan.
Yeah. Thanks, Ravi. So anyone else has any questions? Roshni ma'am, Avinash Aligram sir.
Yeah, Rajan, Mr. Pahwa, I have one question. What is your take on adsorption, AD, not AB, AD, adsorption systems?
Okay.
I mean, what's the future? Does it have any future or no? Yes, what is it?
Long answer, short
Compared
answer.
Compared to AB, sorry?
Yeah. Short answer, long answer.
No, I think people are already maybe.
Okay, I'll try and abbreviate my answer.
Yes.
The technology basically was born in Japan like 30 years ago. There are 2 companies, 3 companies, one by one, all of them have stopped doing this business. The technology exists. Very expensive to produce that. One of the companies reconstituted that product and licensed it to a US company. The US company did a lot of work in that and did a lot of standardization, and we partnered with them. We have started making this product in India, and these are the larger systems which go beyond 10 kilowatt of cooling. So our system started about 100 kilowatt and above. Now, this company was part of a transformer making company. So this is a very small division. So they sold the transformer company and they shut down this division. So the last manufacturing player of the large systems in the world has all disappeared. So India is the only producer of adsorption systems. So We supply today product to Hong Kong. We are going to work with a Japanese company to supply a system to Vietnam. There's no other player in the market. Now, let's go to the other side. The smaller system standardized for 10 kilowatt. There were two companies for the last 10 years producing in Japan, in Germany. Two companies. And both of them in the last 10 years have not been able to break the barrier of 2 million euro sales, annual sales, with an average annual loss of 1 million euros. So each one of them has got an accumulated loss of more than 10 million euros. And their revenue total put together in the 10 years has not been more than 20 million euros each. And out of the two companies, one folded up last year. So one company remains, and I don't know how long they last. And bulk of that is based on German subsidy. So long answer. Now, where is the future? The future is again in new materials. A lot of companies are working with new materials for adsorption. We are looking at, and that's why our R&D center here, we are not given up on this. Because for us, it's not a big issue. We can manage the R&D at this cost. The new materials which can be regenerated at 60 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius are going to be coming up in new systems being developed for data centers. Because in data center, you are going to be able to use the heat and provide the cooling. So we have filed 3 new patents on adsorption cooling in the last 5 years in these technologies. So I think if you look at it, we are not doing very active work because it's such a small part of our business, but we are not letting the technology die from the planet. So we are the only one who's still investing something on the R&D side. And so I don't know how far, where will it go? God knows. I hope it goes like this, and we will be happy to take a ride on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shaligram, sir. Sagar Munishwar has raised his hand. Sagar, can you start your video, or is it possible?
No, I will. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Rajan. Thank you, Pahwa sir. Of course, it was an excellent session. I have no other adjectives. Sir, I will ask a very totally non-technical question. So you mentioned about the first advice, what you gave is that we should keep the child in us alive. So I would like to know what those facets of a child in you is making you feel younger.
What? Sorry, what? I missed that word.
What facets of a child in you is?
I've got 3 grandchildren, and whenever their mother and my grandmother is not around, they say, Dadu, let's do some asti. That's what I've taught them. Otherwise, they're always...
What makes you keep younger? What makes you keep younger?
No, it's not making me keep younger. It's the thought process, your DNA. So if you start on this DNA very early in life, and you look at all aspects of life in being childlike, have fun. It should permeate into your work, your around. I mean, everything. So if you are one of those very serious guys, we're always working and whatever it is, then you got a bigger task at hand. It's not that you can't activate your the child in you, but you always have to look for that child in you at all ages.
Got it, sir. Thanks.
So just to add to that question, sometimes people feel that if you act maybe a little childlike, people probably may take advantage of you, or they may not take you seriously. Is it so? But you have grown so much and you have got such a lot of respect. So it's a kind of a dichotomy or a correlation to ask, but yeah.
You're right. There are certain times when my wife complains, you can get away with this, other people won't have got away with it. So that's all right. That's the advantage you enjoy at certain stages, but still have fun one way or another, but not at other people's expense.
Sure, sir. Thank you. So Vikram Murthy ji had joined in just now. So can I request Murthy ji to say a few words, or maybe whatever comment or question you have?
I've never known Vikram to be a late comer, so let's see.
Yeah.
No, actually, he got stuck in another society meeting. Otherwise, he's always there for all our sessions. So missed it for the first time.
Vikram? He's on mute.
He generally has some audio video problems at his end or network issues as well.
Okay, so
I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah. So I think Avan, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Would you do the vote of thanks, please?
Yeah, sure, sir. So first of all, thank you to all the participants who have joined, and thank you to Pahwa sir. I mean, today I was like nostalgic. That experience is what really matters for young people like me, and to the fraternity in general, I would say. Thank you, sir, for all the insights you have given today. You have actually probably given some of the youngsters or even every one of us on this platform a different way of looking at life. Something like keep the child alive in you, which I keep, and it helps me to connect with my daughter, and the way this generation is going. Probably to the friends I have been connecting to the network. So thank you once again for being our guest. It was really an honor to have you as our guest. Thank you to Nivedita ma'am. She is probably Shri and Rajan sir are the brainchilds behind this series, and we try and ensure that we have the maximum possible people attend this and try and get try and have good takeaways of the session. Thank you to all the senior dignitaries from the headquarters who joined us today. Ramchandran sir, Ravi sir, Murthy sir. Thank you to the CWC committee, ISHRAE Thane chapter committee, and thank you to all of you. Just a quick reminder, the ISHRAE education series have started. We conducted our first session today on the psychrometric and heat load calculations. Saturday, 28th of August, we will be having chillers as the topic. The flyer and the invite is already out. Register yourself and try to make the most of these sessions. So once again, thank you to all of you for joining. I hope all of us have been, proactive of getting our vaccinations. But still, the virus is not gone. Let us stay safe with the social distancing, keeping our masks on whenever we are away from home. And of course, sanitization is now become a very integral part of our lives. So let us continue that. So on a Saturday evening, thank you. Enjoy your weekend and have a great Sunday, and a happy Raksha Bandhan to all of you who are following it. Thank you, Deepak sir, once again.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just
Deepak
before
sir,
starting,
please go ahead.
I
Please
just
go
want
ahead.
to thank Farooq sir once again.
Sorry to have missed that, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for correcting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. It was a pleasure to be here with you all and catch up with many friends who are from which I have not met for a long time. Good to see familiar faces. Thank you all, and good night. And again, have a good few holidays ahead of you. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.